All right, let's call this meeting to order. I'd like to start out with Ms. Benson. Would you be kind enough, please, stand again?
Yes, sir. Dearest, most graciously, Heavenly Father, we come to you right now thanking you for all your many blessings. God, we ask you to just keep us in your loving hand. We thank you for healing, just life, strength. God, I ask you to guide us as we make decisions and to help us make in your name. We amen.
Amen. Amen. Joel, you can count them.
Time to get up.
I would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Lynn Norton and Mayor, I want to say welcome, both of you. Tonight I had the opportunity to serve with both of you. I know. And I'm not going to disagree with you because I won't win. Good having you. Good having both of you here tonight. Before we get started, just want to say thank everyone for the crowd coming out tonight, voicing your opinion, letting us know what you're thinking. That's what democracy is all about. I just pray tonight that everyone takes this budget very seriously and vote your conviction. I know the 4 of us voted against it, and we're strongly opposed to it. And I know the other 5 have their feelings. So I want to ask everyone tonight to really listen to the people. This is who we work for. We work for these people. And I want to apologize to the press because I know you and Kevin D asked 3 weeks ago for a lot of information, and we didn't get you to Friday, so I personally want to apologize for that. Scott, we need to go into the public hearing. I'm going to let you run with that one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. With that direction, we'll go ahead and open up the required public hearing for the fiscal year 2026-2027 Seneca Light and Water budget. I know we have sign-up sheets that were out front. Mr. Bowman's got those, so we'll look at them just in order of how they're stacked, call names out. So there are 2 opportunities to speak here tonight. There's the public hearing for the budget, but we also have public comment that's related to items on the agenda. Not sure how clearly that was identified on the table out front, but if you want to speak on something that's related to an agenda item that's not the budget, we will ask that you wait until that public comment session, which immediately follows this. But as of right now, we want to make sure we hear from those in attendance on just the budget item. So we'll go and turn it over to Mr. Bowman to start working through the stack. I think once we're finished with the sign-up, we can obviously open up the public hearing floor for anybody who may still want to speak, even if they did not sign up. So, Mr. Bowman, I'll go ahead and turn that over to you, sir.
All right, first individual we have signed up to speak this evening is taxpayers.
How are y'all doing? How are my friends doing? Taxpayers, 138 Durham Point Circle here in Seneca. So, anyway, y'all doing good? Smile.
Yes, sir.
I'm Bob, I'm your friend. I know I spoke last time, and to tell you the truth, a little perplexed is why this is really, an issue, because it really shouldn't be. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your comments right there, because I do want you to listen. I'm not up here just to kill time. Just to give you a little bit of background. The city is part of the American Public Power Association, large organization, has over 2,000 members, large and small. Large members, Seattle, Los Angeles, Long Island, Jacksonville, Orlando, Nashville, pretty large. But there's also other towns like Due West, right? So it's a large gamut, and probably over half of the members in the APPA are under 3,000 customers, right? So we're above that normal. We're on the upper side of the bubble. We don't necessarily you know, we're not necessarily the size of those cities, but we're municipals, right, that we serve, you know, we're close to the customers that we serve. You know, they don't have to, the customers, the good thing about municipal, they don't have to go, you know, into some distant land and hope that the Public Service Commission does their rates, right? And they put on, the American Public Power Association puts on seminars, classes on how to put a utility budget together. It's not something that you just, it's not something that you just go through and you say like, okay, well, I think this is the way it should be. It is not subjective, it is very objective. It is just a number crunching. Here's the expenses, here's how many customers you have, and then there's a lot of, there's a lot of, I'm gonna say grinding to make that sausage, right? It's not something just as simple as just saying, you know, hey, it should be this, right? It's a very much laborious process. Now, we're also part of the American Water Works Association, right? And that's a larger organization because, as you can imagine, there's more water systems out there than there are municipal electric. So it's going to have twice as many, you know, associates, affiliates, if you will. But they do the same thing, right? They put on classes of how to do cost of service studies for utilities. And I've been to both. I've gone through this process, and I have, you know, and I've compared the two, and they're identical in nature, except one's for water, one's for electricity. And then there's the Water Environment Federation. If you've heard of, there's a large conference they put together called WEFTAC. But they do the same thing, except it's a little bit more geared towards, you know, sewer, wastewater management. But the same thing goes there. It's a very involved process, but it's very logical in nature, and it is not subjective. This is the way you operate the utility. So I want to impress upon you, because we've done this for years. When I first got here in '01, right, we did not have a cost of service. There was not one, so don't think it's been going on forever. You know, you would think, as we had, what's the gentleman's name, was here, was here, was a finance officer. Walter Smith. Yeah, Walter Smith. Good guy, bless his heart, rest his soul, right. But Walter was a finance guy, but he didn't do the cost of service, right? It had never been done until '04 when we had to go out for revenue bonds. When we signed our contract with Progress Energy, y'all remember that? And they were giving us 9 megs worth of load management if we could do that. And so we went out and said, like, well, okay, this should pay for itself, and it did. It has. When we bought the generators, you know, we did that project. We had to go out to borrow that money to do that project, as well as other things that were in there. But the loan, the people that were doing the revenue bond, they did not allow just a single vote without a cost of service. So that was the first time the city had ever done a utility cost of service. And so from there, it's been something that's maintained throughout the years from a standpoint, because if we do something different than the cost of service, that is, these associations, which are national in scope, that everyone, utilities, that, you know, that they abide by this, so that when, you know, I'm just thinking, if we don't do that, if for some reason we decide not to use our cost of service study, I'm not here to defend that or anything, but don't put that on like Danielle, who's going to have to, on an annual basis, they get a phone call from New York. You know, Moody's is going to call credit rating, and they want to know, can we get a copy of your rates? Oh, and how were they established? And it's so easy, you know, so simple to defend when you can just send a cost of service study. Now, I'm giving you this for free, right? I could charge you, you know, millions of dollars. You know, I could charge you $50,000, $150,000, so that way you would listen to me, right? I would be a consultant, and I would say, here's what you need to do. But because I'm not, just because I'm not, don't treat what I'm saying with just some kind of regularity, oh, that's just Bob. I graduated from NC State, y'all know that, with a mechanical engineering, Bachelor of Science, mechanical engineering. Go pack, right? That's what my wife says when we go out, she's going to talk to her. So, we sent our kids to Clemson, so figure it out. Anyway, you know, I got out of school, you know, 4 years later, passed 8-hour exam, became a professional engineer, licensed, right? That type of thing. And so I say that from this. You know, Josh, I've had a chance since last time we talked, I've had a chance to talk with Josh because I knew there was because you guys are divided on this, and you really shouldn't be, right? So I'm going like, okay, Josh has done something stupid, right? And we disagree on many things, but one thing Josh and I have never disagreed on is how to put a cost of service study together, how to understand our rate structure. We've never disagreed on that. He has got that's his kind of superhero ability is cost of service, right? You know, he's learning operations right now, and he's getting his feet wet, and I appreciate the guys that are still down there, the men and women that are still working through the utility, kind of helping him out, but I want you to know that that's his, you know, he graduated from Utah, bless his heart, but he got his MBA from University of South Carolina, which is another bless his heart. But, you know, he can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about that. But what he's given you, what I've done is I met with him a couple times just to make sure, just to say, like, okay, this is what I would do, right? And I'm going like, yeah, this just makes sense. And anything outside of that, I'm afraid we're going to get criticized heavily from other agencies, right? Not just here, not just what we do, but other agencies that are looking at us. You know, they're going like, well, where'd you come up with that? Well, we just think we believe. They don't care about that. That doesn't make any sense. They want to know where's the calculation on your cost of service, how do you derive it? Let's look at your expenses and let's go through these calculations. So I really, with the experience, and I would even go as far as this, as I know my brother around the state pretty darn good, right? And I would say between Josh and myself, we understand rate structure as much as anybody, right? The only reason you're getting this at such a low cost is because we work for you, right? Literally, we could start a firm. Literally, Josh and I could start a sinking firm and do cost of service study, and we would get paid a lot more, right? Right? And there would be people that would listen, right? But you're getting it, and don't throw that away. Don't throw this knowledge away. Don't go for, well, I think that it should be, and I believe it should be, because there's some other, which I don't know what it would be. Does the AWWA and the APPA, these national organizations, do they not know something that you know, is there something out there that they need to be apprised of how to do a cost, you know, how to derive, you know, the cost to provide our citizens? So I would really encourage you, and with all respect, and you guys, I mean, you guys know how much I care about you, and conversely, I know how much I care about me. You know, we've all got to get history together. We've all got to get a background. But I really do. I feel more than extremely confident to just say, you know, you may not like Josh, and I don't disagree with that. He aggravates me too. But I don't disagree with how he does this. So, anyway, that's all. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Who you got next, bud?
Next we have Judy Adams.
Come on out, Judy, just state your name and address, please.
Judy Adams, 520 Glover Court in Seneca. Been a resident of the city of Seneca since 1982. I'm going to talk about the vote of the Seneca Light and Water. Is this the proper time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Ms. Adams.
Thank you for allowing me to participate tonight.
Ms. Adams, would you bring the microphone down a little closer? I have hard
Yeah,
to hear.
I have
Thank you, ma'am.
a bit of a challenge.
They don't treat me well. They've seen your abuse here.
I am asking you to vote no on the second reading of the light and water budget tonight. I'm not asking you to vote no because I don't understand that the city has expenses and the costs have gone up. I'm asking you to take a breath, look at the bigger picture before approving another budget that continues to put pressure on our businesses, our residents, and our utility system. One of my biggest concerns is the 45% to 65% increase in business license fees. That is a substantial increase for the businesses that are already working hard for our community. And before placing that additional burden on them, I believe that we should make every effort to find reductions within the city's own spending. We also need to address the practice of transferring money from the light and water budget to support the city's general budget. Our utility system should be financially healthy and properly maintained and not continually relied upon to fill gaps within that city budget. And most importantly, I believe we need to get our spending under control. So I'm asking you tonight to take a step back, vote no on the reading, be able to go back to the general budget, look at it line item, like many families have to do, and see what we can cost, what we can cut, excuse me. Reduce your spending, prioritize your spending, and taxpayers and businesses can get some relief. Again, please vote no tonight. It's not to stop progress, but it's to demand that we do the hard work of finding our savings first. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Thank you. Both, yeah, next.
Next we have Jeff Wright.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Moore, good evening to you too. And good evening. It's good to see a lot of folks here tonight that come out here and have a great say tonight because there's something that needs to be talked about. You're going to hear from so many people tonight that's going to be mad one way or mad the other. It's a damned if you do and a damned if you don't situation. But I want to know how we got in this situation. That's the big question that I want to find out, because in November, Mr. Mayor, when you were sworn in, you said the first thing you were going to do is raise the light and water 9%. Well, that caught my ear when you said 9%, and I got to thinking, well, what's going on here? So, of course, the final outcome was in January, I believe it was 4.5% is what you raised the power rates to. So then the conversation came a little bit later on, we're going to have to go up again. And then, as a concerned citizen, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, how is this going to affect our elderly that's on Social Security? How is that going to affect them? And having a conversation with some of you on council, that I appreciate you reaching across the aisle and asking me how I felt about certain things. Then I find out that this council, or pre-councils, according to that, would be going up a set percentage for the last 5 years. So then in the budget meeting, in one of them, but then we had the first budget that came out was a 15% flat fee. There's no way in the world 50% flat fee would have been so unfair to everybody. People that live outside the city. $15 fee, excuse me, thank you. So then we started hearing the experts. We just heard from one of the experts that has run Seneca Library before, it's Bob Ferris. Then which is Mr. And he said cost of service. And then we have a vote, of course, the 15 passed on the first reading. Second reading, of course, Mr. No, you voted to go. Now we're discussing this cost of service. It's not going to be fair to anybody, no matter how you vote. You all are in a dead situation. For the cost of service, the question that needs to be answered is how in the world we got in here. And today, I open up the Seneca Journal, the journal, and I read the editorial, and I am absolutely blown completely away that we had some reporting for the first time. I read that and was shocked. How come no one knew that we had another issue with missing money? The journal, that's the first I've heard of it. Then we had another missing money, which we all know about the Recreation Department. But at the end, according to our charter, the mayor is the chief executive officer of this city. It's up to the mayor to have a budget presented that can be passed, that is fair and equitable. They're all going to be upset. The businesses, you know, Dan, we stood there in the early 2000s and we said, why not some? Because guess what? We had nobody. You were here in the 80s. We remember how it was. You didn't get caught ran cat out, you did. Because we had the city pool room. We've had a rough time through the years, but now we've got a great ran cat alley. We've got businesses. We just spent $22 million for a fine art center that's got its own issues that could be a focal piece of this community. But yet, it seems like somewhere along the line something's missing. So no matter what you do, when you vote tonight, you're going to make one side mad, one side happy. If it was up to me and I was sitting in your place, I think I would go back to the drawing board and start again on the whole damn thing. Budget and all. The business license, people can't afford it. Salaries, that's the other thing. I'm sorry, the salaries. 73% in the nation for a population of 8,200. Who let that happen? Was it you? Did you approve that? And I asked the questions, no. So again, you got to do the right thing. No matter what you do tonight, it's going to be damned if you do and damned if you don't. At the end of the day, I'm going to be here. I was born and raised here. My grandparents worked in that cotton mill for 50 years. And when half of you leave that are just come here, I'm still going to be here. I'm going to die here. This is my hometown. And I hate to see my hometown hurt. I take no pleasure in having to stir the pot to get people to understand what's going on. That's all I'm trying to do is get the citizens, I want the businesses. We at one time had a great cohesive relationship. And we can have that again. Do the right thing, what needs to be done. That's it. And life will be great. I appreciate your time, and go Bobcats.
What do you have next?
Next we have Janie Davis Turner.
Miss Janie, you know, come on up and state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Janie Davis Turner. I've been a resident since 1968. I want to thank you for your service. It's often a job that is sort of a thankless job, and I understand that. But I come before you tonight. I wanted to say, if I misquote anybody, anything, stop me. I want to be corrected, okay? Now, with that said, I come before you tonight on the premise that I thought the city was financially solvent. When the Seneca Middle School property became available, the former superintendent, Michael Thorsland, wanted to give the Dream Center, an entity of Easley, free of charge. Then, when there was such a public outcry and that proposal was squashed, then he wanted to sell it to the city of Seneca for $500,000, down to $200,000, because he said you were financially stable. Okay, with that said, it was reduced to $200,000, and the city agreed to pay for that, and then the current upgrades that have been going on. And yet here we are tonight in a financial quagmire. The Journal reports that the council, you used the 24-25 figures to increase the city taxes. With the city administration, including 2 new administrative assistants, why could council not get information from 25-26 to base the information on? I asked, should the city charge developers more money to help solve this problem? The proposed 20% tax increase will be a heavy burden on many residents of Seneca. Businesses that choose to remain in the city limits because they will only take this business license increase and probably pass it on to customers. Those customers are already shopping locally, so that's another burden. Regarding the 1-cent sales tax proposal, many residents would be hesitant to believe that they will really receive a 55% return on their property taxes. I propose a 3-year, if not a 5-year moratorium on spending no new projects, even including Christmas decorations. And I understand that brings in more people for businesses, but it's time for us to stop spending, just like with your own budget, and get a handle on things. I first of all want to thank Ronnie Mayor, who's now the mayor, and those of you on the council who voted to defeat this proposed budget. 20% at one time is absolutely too much. I ask you to at least put it into 2 smaller bites over the next 2 fiscal years. I want to thank you for your service again and for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Bo, who do you have next?
Next we have Alex Butterbaugh.
Alex? State your name and address, please.
Good evening, my name is Alex Butterbaugh. I own Kiwi Brewing Company. We're located at 401 East Main Street. I gotta be perfectly honest with you, I had notes on what I was going to say and didn't ever, so I threw those away. And so I'm going to just kind of open some mind. So first, with the 45 to 65% for businesses is
Thank you. Brother, who you have? Anybody else?
Next we have waiver.
My name is Ray Murphy. I live at 3205 Tumblestone Drive, beautiful Cross Creek. That is in the city limits. I own some commercial properties here in Seneca, and I'm also involved in a few businesses here. And I'm here to talk about this budget. And I've talked to a lot of people about this thing, and I break it down a little simpler than most. I try to use common sense. All these numbers and all these figures, you know, I understand that. But when we first talked about the $15, the one we were so worried about, and we all had the fear of the $15 per person, I thought that sounded like a pretty good idea to me. But then I talked to a lot of councilmen and council people, and they gave me a lot of different ideas. So I'm just going to explain a couple of them and come back and show you some facts about it. The first one was we're going to charge people outside the city $15. Well, they get water from the city. Okay, $15. I didn't see where that was a big deal, but I understand where their thoughts were coming. The next one is there's a lot of people on fixed income. And, you know, $15 would be a burden to them. I'm sorry, I'm retired, I'm on fixed income. You know, I'm not so sure about that. But I look at it, and I can understand it. I really do. The third one was, the big one, that I think really switched it, was the legalities of it. There was some legal issues of it. But nobody took the time to really look at it. I did. I saw some examples of it. I didn't see where there was some legal, but I'm not an attorney. But I did see other examples of it. Didn't see where it was going to be a problem. So we moved forward on it. And I want everybody to remember those three things, because why the $15 made no sense. So now we come with this new budget. Now, at first, I heard it was 4.5% in the power, 10% water, 10% sewer. Then I heard it was a different number. Then the sewer and the water was all different. I'm not sure what the real numbers are. And I don't think council knows. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they knew maybe till today. But that is what it is. We all got to pay. The budget is what the budget is. We got to bring the money in to make the budget work. I understand it. We all talk about cost of service. And cost of service is a great idea. But understand cost of service, us taxpayers, us top 20% taxpayers in this county or in this city, we're already paying a whole lot of cost of service. Okay, we're already there. We talked about percentages of that water deal, the 115%, 119% of $12.78. Yeah, that's a big number. Try 4.5% of $4,500 a month. That number's pretty big too, isn't it? That percentage is irrelevant. It's just, it's a fear factor. Okay, it doesn't make any sense to me. But we just had Alex up here, and I talk to Alex all the time. His business is real close to where I have some property. He has some great points, really, really valid points. Okay, we talked about all these things and where this budget needs to go and the cost of service. So we're going to go back to the $15. And I'm not here to say $15 is the right answer. I'm not here to say that. I'm not here to say it's the wrong answer either. So when we said $15, we're charging people outside of the city of Seneca $15, but they use our water. In the budget, is there not an upfit for the water treatment plant this year?
$600,000.
Okay. So
required by DHEC.
Yeah. So there's an upfit for it, for those people, for us and them. But let's not worry about them paying for it. Let's make sure the businesses in the city of Seneca pay for it all. That's the way I see it. We're going to pay for it. Fact. That's not disputed. We pay 100%. Now, the fixed income thing, okay, $15 is $15, and if you can't, if you're there, I understand that. I understand. But with these increases, who's not going to pay $15? With all these increases, you're going to be at $15. If you have a $150 light bill and a water bill and sewer bill, are you not going to be at $15 total more?
No.
You're going to be there. It's not going to make a difference. Then we have the legal issue of it. We talked legal, and I know that really scares some people, and rightfully so. On the licensing that you all voted in, what did you add for the minimum license fee? $15. To every single one of them. You can add $15 to the business, but you can't add $15 to the water bill. Where's the legal difference? Doesn't take a lawyer to figure that one out. I understand this is not going to be an easy vote. Truly, I do. It is very difficult, and you're not going to make everybody happy. Heck, you might not make anybody happy. We're all going to pay it. I love the city. The city's done a lot for me. I talk to Alex all the time. The city's done a lot for him. You know, but we've done a lot for the city. And I ask that you listen and take that into consideration when you do this. There's one last thing. As we look at the increases in light and water, the one question I had, and it just didn't make any sense to me, and help me understand this. For the residential, it was 4.57. That's what I'm reading here. Is that correct? For commercial, 6.25. Correct? I mean, that's what it says on here. Is that what I'm seeing? Maybe I don't understand business all that well. I mean, I've done pretty good in my lifetime. But when I buy T-shirts, and I get to about $500,000 of T-shirts, my T-shirt vendor says, "Hey, Ray, man, you have done a lot of business with us. I think I'm going to give you a little bit of a discount because you're one of my biggest customers." And that works real well for international commerce. The city of Seneca seems to got it backwards because your biggest customers, you're asking to pay more. I ask that you please sit down and redo this thing and think about doing the right thing for the businesses and the people. And it's not going to be an easy decision, and you have to do it quick. But I truly ask for you to think about what's going on because the business is here. You know, it's difficult. We're going to be around, but some of them aren't. And I don't want one single business to leave, and I don't want one single business not to come into our city. Thank you for your time. Do it right there.
Thank you.
Vote yeah. Have anyone else vote?
Jenny Ramirez.
Jeannie Ramirez.
I'm sorry, did I misread that name?
Henry.
Henry Ramirez.
Wow.
My name is Henry Ramirez. I live at 609 South Acorn Way. I didn't own Upstate Medical Associates, but I still own the building on Wells Highway. I'm a retired physician assistant type thing. I owned Oconee County practice at one time and 100% of Upstate Medical Associates. But I take that back. I own 99% of it. 1% belongs to my wife, so that trumped my 99%. Except in the lawyer's office, time. So anyway, I've been here for the city for a long period of time, and I've donated to the city for a long period of time. When the tornado hit, Scott Prime with EMS Services in Oconee County asked me, said, "I know you had been damage to your building, but can you open up a food bank there?" I said, "We have trouble staffing it." I said, "No problem. I have 25 employees. I still plan to pay them, and I will make sure they're there. But any more volunteers, I would appreciate it." And they were all there. I'm here to stand up for the residents of Seneca and the surrounding cities in the county. A lot of the city and county employees were patients of mine, and I appreciate them very much. In the last 3 weeks, I reached out to some of you sitting in front of me and voiced my opinion. And as I told some of you before face to face, why are you a part? And why are you in this? I don't know. And I want to apologize to all of you because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a politician. If I walk like one, I apologize to all of you. Okay? Now, In the last 3 weeks, I've reached out to you sitting in front of podcast with Danny Moore Sunday night. I also spoke to Seneca Journal. I read Jeff Bryce's breakdown of the budget on the Facebook page yesterday. I also read the article in the Seneca Journal today, an online newspaper period. I reviewed the 1% sales tax and the Tier 1 and 2 capital projects. The Journal recommends to vote no. I do not believe it is not the council or the journals that tell us how to vote. It is a taxpayer decision, but we need accurate information. And I don't think we're getting it. I believe there's no communication, transparency, or accountability within the city administration to Jeff Wright, Seneca Journal, but most importantly, to the taxpayers. In medicine, we have something called medical malpractice. In the political world, especially on the national level, which now built down to the state, county, and city level, there's no transparency and accountability. I believe the people in front of me took an oath or signed a contract to represent the taxpayers. In my opinion, we should not have a significant increase in the Seneca Light and Water budget, the business license fees, and add the 1% sales tax. Too much tax increase in 1 year. Taxpayers need something better. So I asked, like all the other people behind me, why is this happening? This didn't happen overnight. And I'm not here to point fingers at anybody. I'm here for the people of Oconee County and the city, because I owe it to them. They took care of me, so I really owe it to them. So my question is, why is this happening? Is the city in debt? I don't know. The capital expenditures look too high to me, and some don't make sense to me. When I ran a business, I looked at the best deal on X-ray lab, audio equipment, put our differences aside, the hatred aside, for the Journal, for Jeff Wright, and for the fellow man. I'm tired of what's happening in America. I'm sick and tired of it. It's not right. Take a step back and look at what's going on.
Fee increases, tax increases, and families are having to cut back, and I hadn't heard a word about cutting back in city expenditures. And I have a number of small businesses are struggling to keep their doors closed. They can't afford anything else. And you know, I one time worked with the city, and they said that I said, I don't believe in wasting my money, your money of the taxpayers. So I think we need to consider these families and small businesses struggling, and we need to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone else?
The last individual we have signed up to speak at the public hearing is Tim Bowen.
Tim, come on up, if you would. Reverend Bowen. Tim, would state your name and your address, please.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, council and all. My name is Tim Bowen. I reside at 515 Dalton Road, lifelong resident of Seneca. I'm 65 years old, and I can count on one hand the times that I've stood before this council to give any kind of commentary on anything. But I felt like I needed to come tonight, even with the hurricane coming through town. I have been really concerned about this, not only because of what I consider to be egregious levels of rate increases, but in the way this has all been handled. And let me join many of my fellow residents tonight. First of all, in thanking you for what you do. I know it's a thankless job. I appreciate you putting yourself out there and representing us and doing what you can to help us. And that's why we're here tonight, is to ask you again to help us, because this matter has not, in my humble opinion, been handled correctly. It's not been communicated correctly. The reasons and the justifications have not been spelled out in my mind. We've tried to find out through various social media, and I commend the paper for doing their work to try to dig down and investigate and find out. And I was appreciative of some of the numbers that we got today, to see some actual numbers in black and white. I ran some numbers based on the numbers I saw a couple of weeks ago. Some of you may have seen the letter to the editor of the paper that I wrote, and I ran those numbers against our own, I just pulled my last month's utility bill. I didn't cherry pick anything, and I just plugged those numbers in against our bill. And I realized that we'd be paying nearly $400 more a year in utility costs for the very same services. And when I looked at that, and then I had talked with Ronnie earlier, excuse me, Mayor, and I had heard about the proposed $15 flat fee across the board as an alternative. Well, if I pay $15, I don't want to pay $15 more, but if I had to pay $15, that would be less than half of what you are proposing or what has been read through thus far. And I don't have a pool, I don't have an irrigation system, I don't have any of those energy or water intensive amenities that many of our residents do. So their bills would be far higher than my bill. And I think that what you're hearing tonight is evidence of that, not to even mention what we're talking about for our businesses and our industries. I don't know how we got here either. I will say, as a proud Senconian, lifelong member, I am proud that we have the amenities that we have, that we've done what we've done with downtown and revitalization. I'm proud that we have excellent recreational facilities and parks. I'm proud that we have an amphitheater. I'm proud that we're getting a performing arts center. I am proud of all of those things. But guys, if we can do that, how can we do that and not provide basic utility services at fair, reasonable prices in a way that people understand and in a way that is communicated so that we can all understand it, and we may agree or disagree, right? But it's communicated in a way that is clear and cohesive. But these rate increases coming on top of the 4.5% that we're already paying, is, as many of my neighbors have already said tonight, it's just a lot at one time. And I am here tonight to ask you humbly to vote no on this budget proposal, to take it back to the table, get around the table if you necessary with the budgeting folks at the Seneca Light and Water and figure this out. And if money needs to be shuffled around or whatever needs to happen, figure this out so that we can come up with a budget proposal that is fair, it's reasonable, it can be communicated to a 7-year-old in 2 minutes or less, right? We ought to be able to defend it and explain it, and then communicate it clearly, and let us have something that we as residents can be proud of and feel like is fair and reasonable. As I said in my letter 2 weeks ago, my wife and I have never gotten up in arms about utility costs or any other fees from the city, right? Because I've always counted on my council to do what is fair, what is reasonable, to look out for me as a citizen of this area, and do what is in our best interest and to keep costs reasonable. And I believe for the most part you've done that. But I believe on this, with all respect intended, I believe you failed on this one. And I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you to vote no on this budget proposal, go back to the drawing board, and let's get something that is better and is clearly communicated. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, folks.
That's everyone who signed up to speak in the
Thank y'all.
public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank y'all for coming out and speaking tonight. We will.
I wasn't able to sign.
Mr. Mayor, if we
All right,
allow
George.
this gentleman to step up, if you don't mind, give us your name and your address.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, George Campbell, 111 James Way Drive. I apologize. Last time, the public hearing didn't have a sign up, so I didn't know I had to sign up. Mr. Mayor, council members, I was before you before, and I spoke in favor of the budget as proposed. I'm still of that opinion. I still have the same opinions that I had before based on the research that I've done. A lot of things have come to light since then about the city's budget. I've learned that the city has never recovered from the tornado that came through. The budget has never gotten to the level that it needed to be. If we had another natural disaster like that, we'd be in financial straits. A lot of the costs that are being tried to addressed here are things that have come over time, and what's exactly caused it, what hasn't caused it, the fact remains we have to pay for it. And nobody likes raising taxes. Everybody in here has said they don't like raising taxes. I don't like raising taxes, but if I've got expenses that I've got to make, I've got to do things. I might have to take a second job. I might have to make my wife get another job. I might have to do something to get income in, okay? And the city is faced with that. It reminds me of a computer game in the 2000s called Sim City. You put money in your electric system, your water system breaks down. And you got to put money in your water system, and this other part of town breaks down. And you're constantly shuffling money around. I don't envy this for anybody in the municipal government, how you do it today. Okay, but what I ask for is we get our fund balance back to where it needs to be. We get our utility back to where it needs to be. And we do it as fair as possible. I hear all these percentages getting thrown around. Some of the people in the room may not like this, but all around our country, our businesses, our commercial users, our high-end users pay higher rates. That's a fact. That's everywhere. That's not just here in Seneca. And that's why the rates are what they are. And when we have to increase rates, those folks bear the higher burden. Now, they account for those expenses in different ways. Some businesses pass it on to their customers, but residential users, they just have to increase their budgets, okay? I've heard all the different numbers. I run the numbers on my house. You know, the $15 fee I've questioned, and I've never heard, I've never seen, not even in the journal, the pros and cons between the budgets as proposed today and then the $15 budget. No one's ever spelled that out. It's only one side or the other. It appears the journal is for the original budget that was passed. Why, I don't know. I can assume a lot of things. I hear rumors about a lot of things, but I don't know what the facts are. And then I hear from the professionals that say this is the way we need to go for this budget. I tend to go with the professionals that do the job and listen to the industry and are giving the advice based on their education and their experience versus people who are not. And I haven't heard who is on the other side and why they are on the other side. And all of these percentages that are thrown out in the paper just seem to be misinformation. Okay, my neighbor said his bill would go up. I did my research. My bill's going to go. It's not going to go. It's going to go up. It's not going to go as high as it would under the $15 fee. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about how these expenses are being accounted for. And then I hear rumors that people, even members on this council, that are getting threatened over this budget by different entities and getting, you know, text messages and voice messages and threatening them. Why? This is a democratic society. If we have an opinion, we need to be able to voice our opinion, and we do it on facts. Why are we threatening people? That makes no sense. And if the people who are doing the threatening are part of the people that side one way or the other, it might be illegal for all I know. I mean, I'm hearing rumors, so I can't tell you whether it's legal or not. But this all needs to stop. we have to do something. I know we have a resolution to continue on last year's budget, but that's just kicking the can down the road, and these expenses need to be dealt with. So I'm urging you to pass the budget, and let's deal with these other things down the road. I have not heard, under the $15 fee, the money that it would raise, even if it's taken from people out in the county, would deal with the expenses that are looming in future years. I seem to recall during that conversation, we're going to have to raise rates anyway. So we may not raise rates for the $15, but we're going to have to raise rates. So guess what, everybody in the room? Our rates are going up. I realize it's a shock to some people, and we're trying to do it as fair as possible to not impact everybody all at once. But it's going to happen. That's the reality. So I'm asking again, pass this budget on the water and light based on what the professionals are telling us, and let's move on somewhere else. The last thing, if you don't pass it, I've heard that a financial committee might be put together by the mayor. My questions of that are, who's going to be on it? What qualifications will you need to be on it? I've heard rumor that staff would not be on it. So I'm questioning, you know, what's the wisdom behind that? And who is the one that's going to be basically driving the bus in that committee? Okay. What other municipalities have done something same or similar? And are we comparing ourselves to them? I heard somebody say earlier, what municipalities do we compare ourselves to when it comes to rates and that kind of stuff? I hear our rates, even the proposed rates, are lower than Duke and Blue Ridge and some of the other, excuse me, surrounding utilities that we have. We're still lower than that. So if we were in those areas, that's what we would be paying. So where's the comparison? I'd like to see in the paper the comparison of all those other municipalities and what they do and how they do it. Okay. So anyway, again, I'm in support of the budget that is being proposed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's it. Vote.
Is everyone who signed up to speak?
We'll move right along with our minutes. And now we go into the public comment.
Right.
Anyone?
We do have one individual that signed up to speak in the public comment section of our our call meeting agenda, and that's Monica Alice White.
If you would, Monica, state your name and address.
Sure.
And there's a 5-minute time limit.
Right, that's fine. My name is Monica Alice White. I live at 242 Point Road in Seneca. Tonight I'm here to speak on both the Seneca Light and Water increases and the 1-cent sales tax referendum. First, the utility rate increases. I agree with the cost of service rate increase plan. While I appreciate how it might appear to the businesses and any high-end users, cost of service is the only fair and just way to pay for these services. It's just that simple. What was unfortunate, though, is twofold. One is we didn't have an online calculator readily available for our customers to plug in the usage and get what the real cost would be for each user. Without this objective tool, residents and some media outlets created their own math and came up with some outlandish figures to scare the public. As you can see, it worked. In addition, it was recommended by Sandy Cooper to have a plan in place to gradually increase the electric rates 3% each year for 5 years to create a buffer for when the contract would run out and the rates would drastically increase, like right now. You have to ask yourself why. Why did council only implement that increase 2 of the 5 years? And the community deserves the right to know why too. On the 1-cent sales tax referendum, I support this going forward to the Seneca residents to vote on this issue. Which brings me to my concern. There was a council committee formed to come up with a listing of possible capital projects to spend these dollars on if the sales tax increases pass. Well, that's good, no complaints there, right? But the council committee was created with so few members so as not to meet the definition of a quorum of council. That way, the meeting didn't need to be publicly posted. But wait, in the name of transparency, the media was invited. But without all of the council in attendance at this brainstorming sessions, we all missed out on the group think process. And I know some of you will say, well, Nikki, you could reach us individually, and that's all well and good. But then we start playing telephone with the other council members, and no thank you, I'd rather not do that. As a reminder, you are elected to serve us, the public. And once you truly understand that, maybe you will figure out that you need the public to come to you at council meetings. You will want us to come to you to speak about our concerns, whether or not they're on the agenda. Or why don't you have regular council committee meetings open to the public to get a comprehensive picture of what your constituents feel our community needs. When we solve the big procedural problem, we help to solve all these individual problems by having more community input with all of council. So please, you need to give us an avenue to share our thoughts, ideas, and concerns about council with you as a whole council. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's everyone who signed up to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go into the meeting now. Motion to approve the City of Seneca Council meeting minutes.
I'm
You want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like-
Scott
I'd
will
like-
say something before we get in.
I can, before we get in the meeting. First off, thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Okay. And secondly, let me reassure you, Seneca's not broke. Okay. Seneca is not broke. I want to reassure you of that. And I look over the people who've talked here, and I know most of you know me. We've even broke bread together. We've met at the grocery store. So thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. We do appreciate it, all of us. Yeah, we certainly do. And I want to address some of these things in this if I can. I may not address all of them, but this is coming from my heart. This is coming from me as a person, and those of you that have known me all my life. I've lived in the community, as most of you have, all my life. I love this area, as most of you do. And I have said, if I've ever said anything to make my, and I'm going to do, try my darndest to keep that promise. I try. Tonight, I'm going to ask each council member to vote with me in voting no to this budget. I'm not voting this way because of any person. I'm not voting this way because of anything. I'm not voting this way because of incompetence on anyone's part. Please hear me. I'm simply asking that we can go back through this budget, line by line, as a group, and cut as much as we possibly can so that you, as constituents, can see that we got skin in the game, we mean what we say, and do it in good faith. I have already given Danielle and Josh a few of my ideas as ways we can cut, and I do believe some of those ways will work, and I believe with all of our minds together, we can find ways to cut. These people in this audience are here for one reason, and that's either to tell us how they like what we're doing or dislike what we're doing. Okay? And this has nothing to do with cost of service, doesn't have anything to do with a flat water fee. It has to do with here, moving forward, cutting, showing you that we're willing to do that, going to do that. That's what you've come up here and asked. I think most of the people here understand things have, cost has risen. And I think everybody here is willing to pay their share. But I do think there are too many things that are going up at one time. And we as a council need to do something about that. And I think that is going back and looking at the budget line by line and doing what we need to do. We can do better, and we must do better. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Well, I didn't know we could do that, so now I want to speak as well, if that's okay.
And for future reference, those types of statements should probably be addressed after the motion has been made and seconded.
So that's what I thought, but I'm going to do it now anyway. But because I wanted to take notes while people were saying things, so I could either ask you guys the answer, because I do not know everything, or either so I could answer. Miss Judy. Is Miss Judy still here?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Miss Judy, it's so nice to meet you in person.
We met once before.
That's right. That's right. Your hair was a little longer. I thought that was you. But you asked about the business fees, and I wanted to address this to you guys. That is in a different budget, is that not?
Yes.
So my opinion, or unless I'm wrong, we are only voting on light and water today because we already passed unanimously. Even though I think it's implied that some people did not like it, the other things have already passed unanimously before today, before July 1st, unless I'm misunderstanding, and I could be. I called MASC because I agree with Scott, he knows this, and I think I shared with the mayor, everybody. I also think we need to go back over the budget. I do think we need to make some changes. I think we need to vote through the general fund. But I was unsure of the way to do that because we have passed that budget. So not my understanding, because I listened to several people, and then I called experts because I wasn't sure if they knew what they were talking about. And so I called the Municipal Association of South Carolina, and they said that if we have 3 budgets, then voting this one down does not then let us go back and fix that. You do that by amending the budget that already passed.
Yes, ma'am.
And I wanted to make sure that I do the right thing because I want to make sure that we are not unfairly burdening citizens and businesses, which I agree with Scott, I think we are. However, I don't know if voting this down, I don't know if this should pass or not. But that is not going to fix the business licenses and all the other things by doing that. From what MASC told me today at about 5:37, what they said to me, why do we have 3 different budgets? Because they said most municipalities, it is combined.
We have 6.
No, there's.
Or I'm sorry, why
They're
are
all
we doing?
multiple budgets because they're all different sources of revenue. Some of them are restricted for particular purposes. You can't incorporate the hospitality and accommodations tax revenue into the general fund because it's a restricted revenue for an intended purpose. It's got to have its own separate budget. Your enterprise fund also must be passed as a separate budget because it is an enterprise fund with user fees versus a general obligation budget where taxes are used. So you have to have multiple budgets.
Okay.
Some people will put all of those different budgets into one ordinance, but it's not necessary. So it's better to vote on each one of those individually so it's clear that each of those has an opportunity to be approved or disapproved, not unlike what you guys did in the first budget approval process. You passed one, but you didn't pass the other. So if you had put them all into one budget ordinance, then none of it would have passed, and you would have been able to have difference of opinions based on the budget and the pots of money. So you normally do have individual budgets, ordinances for each one of the pots of money or sources of revenue, I should say.
I may not have explained that to him correctly because I did want to make sure that we're able to go back. It is my understanding, so make sure that I'm clear that if we feel like we need to revisit and go line by line through the general fund and save money, that we would need to go through the whole process again.
Correct.
So that we can make sure that the community has the opportunity to speak again, and for it to be 2 readings.
And a public hearing, yes. So, yeah, the process, if you've got an approved budget, at any point in time during the fiscal year, you can pass another ordinance to amend that budget and modify those numbers, just like I've explained to a number of you that called me to ask me about how that process works. So you can go back and amend the general fund budget at any point in time during the fiscal year. You can do it on the very last day, June 29th, if you wanted to. So yeah, that budget can be revisited easily.
But it does not require us to vote down this budget to do it.
It does not.
And they're separate.
And you can vote this budget tonight, however you choose to vote it in, and then tomorrow, start over and amend it again. So you can amend it 5, 6 different times.
That just keeps this process going longer.
Yeah, it was an exaggeration, I get, but yes, you can amend these budgets, any of them, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times throughout the year if you want to. But you just have to have 2 readings of an ordinance and a public hearing each time you do it.
But if you vote this budget down, then that's $6 million that wouldn't fund
in the general fund.
The general fund.
That's correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you voted in or voted down. Because if you vote it down, you got to find $6 million of a transfer to go to the general.
You have to approve the budget, right? You have to approve the budget. We can't continue to operate without the budget. We've got the continuing resolution vote, but that was a verbal vote. We've got to get a budget approved one way or another. And then if you choose to amend it after that, so be it. I mean, that's your jobs and responsibilities as the mayor and council.
And are we operating outside the scope of the state constitution?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought so.
Yes, ma'am.
So okay.
There are procedures by which you can put the continuing budget resolution in place, but we are required to have a budget approved by July 1st.
Yeah.
And one of the other things, I do find myself confused as to why I recognize that many of you spoke about 4.5%. That's a lot. Listen, I got paid too if it goes up, but Jeff brought it up. It was going to be raised 9% in December, and I'm telling you, I hit the roof about it because I did think that was too much. I thought incrementally was the better way to do it. So I find myself confused with the council while nobody had concerns about 9% in December, but now it is a concern. So I'm confused by that my own self. Somebody else mentioned money missing from the museum. I too read that in the paper, so I want to say that is the very first time that I have ever heard that we had money stolen from the museum. I don't know why that was in the paper, unless they know something that I do not know.
None of us have heard that.
I was confused, but you know.
That came out of the blue. I've never heard of it.
I was lost. And so I wanted to say that on record, but I don't know what's going on. And we all don't know why that was printed. I don't know what business license fees go to, so maybe we can discuss that later, because I wanted to answer Mr. Alex, but we did speak in depth, and I shared with him why I trust the cost of service. However, I do think that 50% increase in business licenses does seem disproportionate, and I had to apologize to him. I did not understand the fee scales when I voted for that. And so when I want to say when I do something wrong, that I did not fully understand the tiers, or I probably would not have voted for that at that time. And I think we need to go back and revisit that. But we do have to pass a balanced budget. And the very last thing that someone said, the flat $15, I absolutely understand, sir. I think I met you before. You seemed so nice, and I could tell you were a minister when you were talking. Anyway, that does seem fair. It doesn't seem like a lot. I personally took issue with the fact of charging people, because even though it's only $15, and but it was $15 for water. But water did not need to go up, electricity did. And some people have our water and they do not use our electricity. So it seemed to me like we're charging people for something that they do not use. It did not seem fair to me, even if it was a lower rate. Now, I did make them pull my bill and other people's bills, and actually, to Ray's point, my bill is $80 cheaper with this increase, all of these increases, than it is with $15 per year. I would pay $80 less. I did not vote for that. I can pay $80. I didn't do it to save myself $80. I did it because, from my understanding from the staff here, I believe that it saves 80% of our residents money by doing it that way. And I did vote in good conscience to save the most people money that I could. That's all I got to say. We can move forward.
Thank you.
Oh, and Ms. Monica, we don't have committees.
Pardon me?
We don't have committees.
I know you don't, that's the problem.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else to say before we move along? That it? Okay, thank y'all. Motion to approve the City of Seneca Council minute meetings dated July 14th, 2026 Exhibit Day. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Being none, signify by raising your right hand. That is unanimous, Kathy. Motion to approve the City of Seneca work session and special call meeting minutes dated July 28th, 2026, Exhibit B. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? Being none, all those signify by raising your right hand, and that is unanimous, Kathy. Motion to approve the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting minutes dated May 14, 2026, Exhibit C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, all those signify by raising your right hand, and that is unanimous. Motion to approve the second final reading of ordinance 2026-18, an ordinance to adopt 26-27 fiscal year light and water budget for $48,351,145. That is Exhibit D. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. I have a second. Motion is second. Any discussion?
I have something I'd like to say. So, the newspaper has printed a lot of information. There's a lot of people who are here tonight because of the information that the Journal has printed. So I would like to get Josh Riches, if you would come up, or Mr. Mulder, whoever you guys think would be the better person to set the record straight on the increases.
I think, to be honest with you, with all due respect, I think it's best that you guys go ahead and have your deliberation. We have presented the numbers that we have shared with you guys publicly during the budget process, even prior to the approval. I'm not sure there's much more that we can say as a staff to present you that we have already presented. What the paper has printed is obviously their right to write the stories, but I think at this point we probably need to turn it over to you guys and let's make a decision.
All right.
Is it okay to ask a question? You know something. Oh, I hate to do this. Miss Danielle, I am so sorry to ask you a question publicly, but when it comes to the budget and we are audited at the end of the year, if there's a shortfall in one thing, like in water and not in electricity, does that cause an auditing issue?
No, ma'am, it does not. The auditors are there to test internal control measures and make sure you're adhering to proper practices and principles. It's not their job to determine that you met or...
So your fee scale doesn't matter? It won't cause an issue? Okay.
What they want to make sure of, though, is that whatever was approved by council is what you're actually charging in your fee schedule. So they'll want to see those fee schedules and make sure they match what your billing is. But they are not there to question your fee schedule. They're not there to question how you spend your money. That's your job. It's their job to make sure you spend it the way you guys said to, and test for internal control measures to make sure that we are doing everything in accordance with proper financial principles.
Thank you. I should have asked you. Sorry, Danielle.
Why we actually, we won audit awards because of those very principles that we've administered, as well as budget awards. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd just like to say something.
Yep.
Going back, I was sitting here thinking about some of the meetings that we've had in the past. First, I want to thank everybody for being here and voicing your concern, because I think it's very important for each and every one of us to listen to our constituents and try to make the best decision that we can. I was actually sitting here thinking about some of the projects over the years that we've done where we've actually backed up and just sort of redirected. First was the Cunningham Park. At one time, you know, there was an old school there, and Light and Water was talking about converting it to an administration office. That didn't go over well in the community. So we did the right thing. We backed up, and we didn't go that way, and then we ended up putting Benny Cunningham Junior Park. And then I think about the middle school. There was a lot of concerns there. We did listen, and we did what we thought the residents wanted us to try to do. Just right around the corner from there, in another subdivision or area, there was discussion about animal shelter. Lots of opposition. You know, they didn't feel like they knew about it and how we could have done a better job making sure that their voice was being heard. We redirected and did it. We didn't do that there. One other project, and I know Bob Ferris is here, and I want to thank him for something he sort of took the handle on, and when we at one time at where the water plant is today, which I'm very proud of, and you know, that one time, that was not very well thought of, but today everybody is. So I think when we're all sitting here and we're voting, you just vote your conscience, you do what you think's right. You know, some of lots of the concerns here tonight, same concerns I had. But I just want to to each and every one that's here, just think about everything you heard and make the best decision you can.
All right, you finished there?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Any other comments from the council? All right, being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. You got it. Okay, and all those opposed? Yes. Okay, moving right along. Motion to approve second and final reading of ordinance 2026-19, an ordinance to amend Chapter 6, Animals and Fowl of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Seneca. That's Exhibit E. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Being done, all those signify, raise your right hand. That is unanimous. Motion to approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2026-20, an ordinance to authorize a referendum on November 3rd, 2026, per South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 5-41-110, Municipal Tax Relief Act, Exhibit F. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion and second. Any discussion?
Can I just say something about
You
that?
can.
Because I am in support of it, and I think a lot of us are. But this law was changed, I think, governed in May, when it allowed for us to be able to apply for.
Yes, sir. That's what
the
the
ordinance.
signed into law, yes, sir.
You know, I've heard some people this week, and, you know, I just try to make sure that they understood. And, but what they were thinking was that we could just do whatever we wanted to with it. But it's definitely, what we're voting on tonight is exactly what it has to be in the time frame. It's an 8-year window, but I just want everybody to know, if you want to know some of the projects and what our plans were, the majority of it is towards reducing in-town Seneca residents' property tax. So I just want to share that because I just want to get the right information out there.
Good.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I'd make a comment. I heard about this at Appalachian Council of Government, and there were only 2 counties in the state that have not passed a countywide. Huh? Beaufort and Oconee County.
And Greenville.
And Greenville. Well, Greenville's going up for it. Anyway, it was put and passed. It came out of the blue. None of us had been alerted beforehand or anything like that. I looked at it. He'd already known about it by the time I got to him to ask about it. And as I understand it, 20% is required, but we're going for 55% rebate base. Yes. And that would traditionally help a lot of the people, right? Not all the homes would be totally tax exempted from the city, but most of them.
Yeah, the 55% based on our calculations, and again, you know, we can't forecast what's going to happen 6, 7, 8 years from now with regard to growth, the economic indicators that could, you know, impact the economy and collections. But the 55% is set at a level that we feel comfortable that will substantially reduce and/or eliminate property taxes for only 4% owner-occupied residences. It does not apply to vacant land, rentals, apartments, businesses. It's only 4% primary residence owner-occupied, and the 55% based on quite a bit of analysis should cover it even with 8 years worth of factors that we have to forecast.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, signify by raise your right hand. That is unanimous, Kathy. Okay, motion to go into executive session.
I'm so sorry. Maybe I should do this after, but, and I don't know, again, procedurally, but can we make a motion to go back and look at, do we need to make a motion to look at the general fund budget?
I don't think you need a motion. We just need to do it.
I think, and just as far as that discussion goes, we need to, we've listened tonight to these folks and say, yeah, and I'd like to ask, you know, if we get Scott and the team together and see if we can go back and somehow reduce the business license fee portion of it as we move forward, and, you know, come back and tell us what we got to do, how we need to amend the budget to make that happen.
Scott has made a lot of cuts in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
A lot more than some of you may even know, but he has worked very hard to cut a lot of money out of this budget.
We agree.
But we will look at it. That's what we do. Okay. Motion to go into executive session to receive legal advice regarding any property purchase of Oconee County, to include the mayor, city council, city administrators, assistant city administrators, city attorney. Upon return, action may be taken on items discussed in executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Being none, all these. Okay, shouldn't be too long on this one.
Unmute. Hello. There we go. Welcome back in. If you're just now tuning in and just joined us, my friends, that is going to be a lot to take in here in the next few hours. Let me just get you up to date with what we know. The Seneca Light and Water budget passes by a vote of 5-4. Again, you have heard comments tonight from none other than Lakeisha tonight, hit it out of the park. Many folks tonight, including businesses, said the exact same thing tonight, that there is an issue. And I thought the meeting was very cordial. I thought that everything went well. There was a lot of folks tonight that were completely cared. There was passion tonight at the city council meeting. And I'm going to tell you, from a lifelong resident here of the city of Seneca, tonight was very emotional for some reason for me. Is that, you know, I've done a lot of public speakings in my life, or speaking, but the weight of it, just listening to residents and the community. And again, it's been a long time since I've seen it. Dan made some points tonight about the citizens showing up. I remember the issue about the old J. and Kellett property when they were going to move Seneca Light and Water over there. I don't think I've seen anything since then, but tonight was very emotional to hear from the citizens, and also to the businesses. The businesses make a very valid point going forward. Again, Lakeisha, I think tonight she hit it out of the ballpark. I think Lakeisha tonight made some great comments. This is going to have to be looked at. I think the business license are way out of proportion for the businesses. And tonight I made some comments. I said some things tonight about, There was a time that a lot of us that were born and raised here, we remember standing in, downtown Seneca in 1986, realizing, where did the town go? Because at that time, everybody had packed up and left. Harper's 5 and 10 was on the way out. Gallant Belk had already moved to Applewood Shopping Center, and you had a whole lot of the core businesses had already packed up and left. And again, there was a time that we remember that Ramcat Alley was almost non-existent. Between the city pool room and Boar's Nest and the What's Happening Club, that's all you had in Ramcat Alley. The heydays were over. Well, the heydays came back. Again, I have said on this program, how did Seneca get here? And it was, of course, under the vision of Johnny Fields. Johnny Fields had this vision about creating Ramcat Alley. But we also heard tonight from former Mayor DeVoe Blackston. Tonight, DeVoe Blackston told the same thing. We also heard tonight some comments. Scott Durham, Mayor Pro Tem, he says the city's not broke. He said the city's not broke. He reiterated that. However, the budget, and if you're cutting the budget, as Ronnie O'Kelly says, that Scott Mulder is cutting the budget, then this should not have been an issue. I hope tonight that you paid particular attention to some of the comments that was made tonight. Number one, you had a $6 million hole in the general fund because you had not passed Seneca Light and Water budget, the $6 million transfer to prop up the general fund. I have said this on this program numerous times. What may be legal may not be the right thing. So you had to pass the budget to prop the general fund up. But I don't even think that tonight was the biggest thing that has been said. And today, the Journal, and I made mention, I talked about this tonight as I made the comments at the whatchamacallit. I made comments tonight. Let me get give me just a second. I want to get the editorial pulled up because I want to go through this. I think this is very, very important. So give me just a second. We're going to go through this, and I'm going to pull up the screen. I talked a little bit about this today on my Facebook page. And again, my Facebook page, those are the comments of me. But give me just a second. I want to pull this up because there's a couple of things that I want to share with you that were told tonight. And I want to reiterate some things here. So give me just a second here. I'm going to pull up the editorial. Give me one moment here. All right. And now on your screen, you're seeing it for the first time. This was in the Journal today as the editorial. So I want to go through this real quickly, and then we'll come back and we'll go through it. But there was a couple of things in there that really stood out that I'm not even sure many of you knew. Some of us knew. I knew. But now that it's out in the open, I'm going to talk about it. So again, the editorial starts stop, and the disenfranchised resident business owners within the city limits of Seneca and the Seneca City Council members. To the public, we hope you'll come. You did. To the council, we beg on you behalf of the ratepayers, do not pass. Well, that's a moot point now. So I want to get right down here. And it starts talking about it. Normally we would agree, but trust is earned by performance, not by position or rank. Seneca did not find itself in the financial situation overnight. We agree. Nor did it find itself in the financial situation because everybody involved on the financial side of the things were doing their job appropriately. But listen, here it comes. Let us not forget that upward of $1 million was stolen from the recreation department that they can't prove. But yet, remember Rick Lacey's name because he was a martyr for all of this. Sled said he didn't do it. Sled cleared him. But that's the first time that you have heard of a follow-up to anything. And I'm gonna lay it on the line tonight. Listen to this. They also think that upward of $250,000 was stolen from the museum, which they cannot prove. If I were you right now, you Seneca residents, I would be livid. Now, it goes on to say that people have been fired and changes have been made, but that doesn't alleviate what caused the problem, nor the blind loyalty that comes with it. Hey, we know our numbers. You just need to trust us. But wait a minute. This is Scott Mulder's problem, because remember, he's the administrator. I'm telling you, that right there is a telltale sign. But again, it goes on. Again, we've thrown Josh Ritchie's under the bus. I spoke to Josh tonight, and I told him thank you. And as I said tonight, in this whole mess, it's you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. The residents are paying the price, but the Journal points it out right here, and they're saying financial situation overnight. Well, if you're in a financial situation, that's not good. And again, we heard tonight from Bob Ferris. We heard the utility. We heard from the experts. We heard from Josh. We heard from several other people tonight that have actually reached out. And you know what I heard tonight was I heard people doing the right thing. Thank you, 5 council members. Again, we must go back and readdress the general fund. We must go back and do a budget amendment. We got to cut it somewhere. We have an issue right now within the city that is brewing. You have a $22 million fine arts center that you have no line item. That's coming online. Listen, this mess is far from over. And it is my fear, and I don't know if it's necessarily a fear, and I'm being very casual, I'm being very cordial and telling you my thoughts and my feelings about this whole thing. I said tonight, who is responsible for all of this? Who? Well, I pointed to the mayor. The mayor tonight is the chief CEO of the city. But you have to understand, again, the mayor has only been in this position for 8 months. However, he was mayor pro tem for quite a few years. He's been on council 20-something plus years. Okay? Do you go back and do you have to point the finger at the previous mayor, Dan Alexander? We didn't get in this mess overnight. But if you want honest answer of how we got in this position, I'm going to tell you. And I want you to listen when I tell you how we got in this position. We got in this position because of Scott Mulder. Scott is the ultimate person that got us in this mess. Because if you go back, and I've done my homework and I know exactly what I'm talking about. If you go back in 2018, prior to Scott Mulder coming onto as city administrator, Seneca was in great financial shape. We had no issues. The reserve fund was great. We were doing projects that were funded. We had money. Everybody was paying great. We had no issues. The morale was at an all-time high in the city. The employees were happy to go to work. And then it mysteriously started changing. And if you don't believe what I'm telling you, all you have to do is get online and start doing researches. Go look at a lot of the information that through the years. You know, newspapers.com is a great place where you can find all of this information. It's all readily available. But this problem was going on at the county as he was administrator in the county. There's a whole bunch of other things that was going on in the county. But tonight, and then today, reading in the Journal, we are blindsided. Now, I have to admit, I actually kind of knew this was happening. I knew that something had happened. I have to thank the Journal for publishing the news because they did. That is the first time that anybody in this city has heard that we've had 2 incidents One, the gentleman was cleared, and I'm referring to Rick Lacey, but this man's reputation was completely destroyed. And again, it goes back to the misappropriation of the county. It was terrible. But you tried to point all of the blame and finger pointing at somebody that, I've known Rick Lacey all my life. But now we have another situation. I hate it. I don't take any joy getting on this show, on this podcast, and telling you these things. I hate like heck to have to do it. But again, these are the things that I have been trying to stir up for years to bring this to the forefront of people. And a lot of people just looked at me. Some of them said you were crazy. There was a few of them that absolutely agreed with me. But tonight, I appreciate the people coming out. There's some business people that probably don't like me, and that's fine. But I have to say, I stood with them. I agreed with them. I think Alex from the Kiwi Brewing Company makes some very valid points. There's none of this fair. None of this is completely fair. But the point of it is, we did not get here overnight. Had we got here, had we really got here and we had done the right thing, we would not be in this situation that we're in right now. I'm serious. We would not have been in this. Judy, I want to let you know, yes, I did. I caught. I did. Again, if you're just tuning us in or just watching us, I did. Did you catch the need to vote because they need to make a transfer of $6 million? Absolutely, I caught that. Absolutely, I caught that. Absolutely. But again, this is a whole different issue. There's so much going on. Again, tonight, I think everybody, Judy, poor Judy Adams, she was worried I was going to be mad at her. No, I'm not mad at her, because Judy tonight, in one of my posts, she reiterated exactly what I was thinking and how I felt about things. And Judy, I appreciate the conversation. I've had many conversations with citizens and residents, and we've talked at length. I've had great conversations with Dana Moore and Lakeisha, and again, Joel Ward. Ward's known me ever since that I was a kid. Denise and W.C. Honeycutt. I've had very thankful conversations with these people. But you know something, what really upsets me and what bothers me to no end, and I take no joy in this, is that our former mayor, Dan Alexander, I looked up to him, I respected him, but I feel like tonight, in the last several nights, and maybe over a course of a year, I feel let down. I feel like I should have said something earlier. I should have said something sooner. I knew for 7.5, 8 years that something was wrong. I told a lot of people. But the timing was not right for me to come in here and do a political talk show. It was not. It was not the right time. I wished I could have made it the right time earlier. I attempted to do a political talk show with a couple of other people, and it was a complete, utter disaster. That other show almost completely, just absolutely tried to almost ruin me. And if you know what I'm talking about that show that I put on Let's Talk Oconee. That's not how I wanted to do a talk show. I wanted to address these issues. I wanted to talk about these things. I wanted to go on here and say all of this. I wanted to have these conversations because I recognize that through the years, Seneca never had a news media that would report, and I'm not going to say it wasn't truth, it was more along the lines of being able to report the news. And when the subjects got tough and when people needed to talk about things, I wanted to be able to share those. And again, I'm thankful to be able to have this podcast. And if it had not have been for the podcast, I wouldn't have. Henry, if you'll give me just a little bit of time, I'm on the air right now. I'll get with you here shortly, okay? All right, Henry, I'm going to talk to Henry again. I appreciate it. And again, the relationships that I've developed through the years, Henry Ramirez was my doctor for many years. He took care of us. But I'm just telling you, we have an issue here that's been going on for quite some time. And I'm not sure that I will never get the answers of how we got here, but I have a gut-sneaking feeling that I know how we got here, and I believe that only history is going to prove me right, that we got here because of Scott Mulder. But who controlled Scott Mulder? Well, the charter says that the mayor, the city administrator and the mayor. So, again, Ronnie's only been mayor 8 months. Prior to that, he was mayor pro tem. You cannot tell me that the mayor pro tem and the current mayor, former mayor, knew everything that was going on. And if you really think that I sit up here and am taking joy out of this, I'm not. This is my hometown. And when I die, this will be my hometown. I have said this on this show before. My grandparents did not work 60 or 50-something years at that cotton plant on South 6th Street, and the forefathers that built this city did not work their ass off to get it where it was just to have it totally pissed away. And that's how I feel tonight. I feel let down. I feel used. I feel cheated. Because I trusted these people in my hometown. And now I've got 5 council members tonight that they did the right thing. And again, it was a no-win situation. Had they voted no, it was a no-win situation. But I'm telling you, it's got to go back now. There needs to be a budget amendment, and we have got to get a budget. Now, here's the deal. This budget needs to be put before the people. And again, people need to show up and voice your opinion. That is how this republic works. Mike checks in. I thought it was funny that Mulder would not address the difference between the journal numbers and his numbers. I'm going to tell you, I am going on the numbers of Josh Ritchie's. I have found his numbers that he gave to be completely accurate. I just think that the whole thing was put together wrong. Again, no one said anything when the general fund budget passed. It was unanimous. Everything was completely unanimous. I'm just telling you, all of this together was unanimous. It was not until, it was not until the business license things came up that certain people started stirring the pot. It wasn't me, because I actually were telling you in June what was coming. The garbage went up. The water rates for water meters went up. Water lines went up. All of this went up. Prior to that, there had never been a podcast done about Seneca, even going back. And the only reason this podcast exists is because the mayor lied to me. Ronnie lied to me. Ronnie told me in October when we had a meeting, Jeff, if you will support me and you will help me, we will get the city fixed. This is conversations I had in October before the election. Well, the election came, and I stood right beside him and had my picture taken, and I was so happy that I thought for once my hometown was going to do the right things and we were going to get the stuff fixed. And boy, was I blown away, because that's the first time tonight, if you'll notice, that's the first time that I talked about what was going on. I talked about the 9%. Dude, I'm on the air. I will call you back here shortly. Just let you know. I'll call you back when I can. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm a busy man. So the 9% figure came out. So that's when I first realized that, wait a minute, we got a problem. Oh, we got a problem. So no one knew anything about it, but Scott Mulder did tip us off, and then Josh Ritchie's really tipped us off. Josh Ritchie's point blank said that there was supposed to have been some budgeting of 2% increases for over 5 years, and we only had 2% increases. So why did we not catch up with the times? We're paying for some bad decisions. But again, it's ultimately responsible Who can you point the finger at? It's the mayor. Rick, you know I have talked about it, and I have defended you, and I will still defend you because I know what was going on. And if you really want to know the truth of how all this money, because it was bad accounting practices, again, Scott Mulder's in charge. That's his baby. He is the administrator. But Rick, I appreciate you, and you know I do. And now it seems like somebody else is about to be on the chopping block because, again, we have the paper posted an allegation of over $200-something thousand, $250,000, and no one even knew it. Well, certain people did. But again, I think there's more to that too. I wished I could tell you that I was making up everything that I'm telling you, but I'm not. I am not making up any of this. I have told you the truth. I have continued to tell you the truth. I am, we're going up to the top of the hour of 8 o'clock, and I had an intention to go into doing election results, but that's changed now because this is important. This is news. And I want you to hear it from me. I want you to share it to the top of your lungs. I want you to share it with all your friends. I'm not going anywhere. If we have to do this show 3 or 4 times a day, we're going to continue because the truth needs to be told, and we, the people, need to hold our elected representatives. We need to hold them accountable. And if we don't hold them accountable, it's our own damn fault. Next year, the city has an election. There's 4 council seats up for grabs next year. 4 of them. Then we heard the Sermon on the Mount tonight. But again, if you've got the Journal sitting here telling us that we're broke, I'm telling you we're broke, but you've got the Mayor Pro Tem, Seneca's not broke. Well, if Seneca's not broke, then why in the hell are we having to put $6 million in the general fund? Ding, 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 ding.
Jeff? Oh, I can't hear you. Jeff.
Can you hear me, Mr. Barry? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Nobody can hear me there for some reason. And I was just looking here. It looks like oh, okay, we're back. I'm trying to figure this thing out in real time, and it's not working too well. All right. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Audio 1, 2, 3. All right. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Okay. All right. Oh, the life of a radio broadcaster. I am very tired tonight. All right, let's try this once again here and see if Mr. Barry can hear us.
Brother Jeff.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. I
can hear you. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear. It has been a night of just some strange things that have gone on tonight. As I texted you earlier, the Seneca City Council meeting run a lot longer than I anticipated. There was, it was good tonight to see a very good, so many people from the community showed up tonight to voice their opinions. And I have to be honest, it blew me away at some of the things that was said tonight by some of my citizens and some of the fellow business people. But all in all, they did pass the budget and water budget tonight. It passed on a 5-4 vote. But there was a couple of things that came up tonight in this council meeting that I think a lot of people now are going, what in the world is going on? One of the things that came up is that there was a $6 million transfer that was waiting, that they had to transfer to the general fund from Seneca Light and Water, that they had to pass to balance the general fund. And I think a lot of people started scratching their heads tonight. But then we had the issue that came out, $250,000 has went missing in the city. I can't.
No, that's called a payment to the county. That's a payment to the county for taking the 911 fund.
No, well, it's a little bit beyond that, sir. I wished I could blame that on that, but I can't. But no, and I think a lot of us were blown away. Again, the Journal tipped us off today in their editorial. We knew about the recreation, but we already know that there had never been a follow-up report. I know the person that was accused of that personally and knew that SLED had cleared him, but I knew the issue. I knew that it was about poor accounting practice, and it just seems like that every time I turn around, there's a poor accounting practices. But again, a lot of people were questioning the article the Journal made. The Journal says the city's broke, but tonight our mayor pro tem said the city, we are not broke. But if you're having to do all of this and you're having to take $6 million, and Barry, I know I'm venting and frustrating here, but if you're having to take $6 million out of your light and water fund when you're planning on going up, there's something wrong with that picture.
There's a lot going on.
All right, I want to change gears, and the reason you're here tonight is
before we do, you have breaking news about an hour ago. I don't know if you heard or not. The state budget was passed. Now here's I'm going to give you the quick tutorial.
Okay.
So in 2025, 2026 budget, last year's budget, it was $41.1 billion. That was your budget for the state.
Okay.
2026, 2027, the following year, $46.2 billion. Now, Jeff, I don't know if you gave yourself a 12 to 13% pay increase.
No,
but,
I didn't get it. Did you get mine? Because I didn't get it.
Well, I didn't get $5 billion. Okay, let's just say that. Yeah. Okay. Brother, that's going to be something that you're going to have to kind of keep your eye on, because that was not even on my radar screen until about an hour ago. And when that number came across, I was like, oh my gosh. He had an increase of $5.1 billion year over year.
Golly, are you? I tell
now, if you're
you,
going to pave the roads, if you're going to pay all the roads in South Carolina, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
but that's not happening. Nobody's getting their damn roads paved up here.
No.
We have a gas tax that we've been paying on for quite some time, and we know where that money went. Of course, we had to send it down to the Low Country. But forget about poor little low Oconee County. We can't get a pot to piss in, as the old saying goes here in the South.
No, we may have to kind of start working on this. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Senate race. So I'm going to I'm going to go back. So basically, the South Carolina Republican Party came up with this idea. They said, look, what we're going to do is we're going to have close primaries. So we're going to sue the state legislature. So they started coming up with this scheme basically to say that we're going to go battle it in the courts. So they came up with this idea, and they were going to just rule changes and basically say that, hey, we're going to change the rules where you have to vote in 2 of the last 3 primaries, and if you're a candidate, you had to vote in the Republican primaries 2 of the last 3 times.
Correct.
Okay?
Right.
Cool. So that went through, and the state DCs went back to it, and your Oconee County delegation, Valerie McCarthy, basically stood up and said, look, that's a great idea. Can we take it back to our county and get our folks to, agree, and, that we'll come back and we'll vote on it. They said, nope, we got to do it now. She says, well, okay. So she voted no. I back her on that. So then they went to a convention, and they basically said at the convention that it was a unanimous vote. Well, there were several people in the upstate and somewhere else that said, no, it wasn't unanimous. We didn't like it because we have no issue with the voters having close primaries, but the candidates, Jeff, that's a different thing, because you have a lot of people that are new to politics, like an Adam Duncan. Okay. So with that said, that would be, that would kind of ice them out. You also have some military things, but they say you can get a waiver. So they had this convention. They passed in the convention. There was a lot of hard feelings because of basically they were putting politics over the process, things like this. Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, Lindsey Graham passes away, and Darlene Nordone, or Darlene Graham Nordone.
Yeah, well, she's dropped the married name, but continue.
Yeah, well, I use it every now and then just to separate. Anyway, so she had not voted in the last 2 primaries. Well, then it became, she voted in a runoff for a friend. Okay, that was a local election. It was not a statewide election, but they called it a statewide election. So that didn't work. So then all of a sudden, about 30 minutes before they closed it, there was a guy named Danny Lee Ford Jr. He went up and he registered, and he didn't vote in the last 2 primary cycles. Well, they said, no. He doesn't qualify because he didn't vote in the primary cycles. And we said, well, wait a minute. You tell us primaries, but then the runoff counts. Then you said cycles. You never mentioned cycles on any of this. So a lot of confusion. So he took it to court. Won. It's on the ballot. Well, all of this, all these shenanigans, Jeff, and all these, people in Oconee, you can't tell them who to vote for. That's not a good thing. They'll figure it out on their own, and God bless them if they ask you. They're interested, but don't tell them. Don't force them, and don't put a gun to their head, because they'll turn that gun on you quick.
Oh, absolutely.
The point is, we know our folks, and they want the information, and then they'll make a good decision. So they didn't like this anointing. They didn't like how this was done. And next thing you know, boy, it came out hard and heavy. So betting lines came out, and it was 24/7 Nordone. She was at about 80% probability. So you would have to win $100, you would have to put $80 down about 2 weeks ago. Well, over time, and they started getting the Trafalgar, things like this, they saw an erosion. And Jeff, it was a it fell off a cliff, precipitous drop from 80%. Her betting odds were in the high 30s today, meaning she was on par with basically Ralph Norman. It was that bad.
Yeah.
It got to the point where it fell off. Now, interestingly enough, Fry over the weekend, Russell Fry out of the 7th, out of Oconee County, he was surging until until Monday, yesterday. And Jeff, he fell off a cliff. So right now, this is the wildest thing because there's not this week after week of polling data and you can trend. These things are moving on a dime. This is moving so quickly. So when the initial results have come out, it's basically 30% right now for Graham, 24% for Fry, 24% for Norman. Top two go on to the runoff in 2 weeks. But Jeff, here's the thing. This is what the underlying data from around the state is telling us. Number one, our friend Ralph Norman up here in the upstate is going to do far better. Problem is the votes, those basket of votes that we talk about, they have not been counted in like Greenville and Cherokee and Pickens and Oconee and places like that. But the precincts down in Horry County, which is Russell Fry stronghold,
Right.
they've been counted and they've been closed out.
Oh.
About 25 to 30% of them. So basically what it says is over the next few minutes, things are going to start moving even faster. Now, you can have, and this is something I need to tell our listeners and our viewers, if you go back in time to June 9th, Pamela Evatt won easily the primary for the governor, right?
Correct.
She is not our governor-elect, is she?
That's correct.
So it doesn't matter if you're first or second. You just got to be in the first two positions. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of work to be done. Now, right now, I mean, it's basically 200 votes separate Ralph Norman and Russell Fry. But Russell Fry, if he loses, he's still going to be a congressperson. He's going to be in the House of Representatives about the 7th. He doesn't lose. He basically just shifts back.
Well, let me give you an update. This is 16 of 31 precincts reporting in Oconee County, and this just updated with 1,930 votes at 34.21%. We've got Darlene Graham, of course, and of course second Ralph Norman right now at 1,544 in vote total, 27.37%, and your next closest is Russell Fry with 14.89% of the vote, 840 votes total. And the former governor, Mark Sanford, at 13.97% at 788 votes. And, of course, Mark Lynch, nowhere near the single digits. Mark Bride, nowhere near. Danny Ford pulls a 1% of the vote, and the rest of them are the dead last at the very bottom. And at 16 of 31, it's 16 of 31%. And I think you and I had a conversation. I really think that this is going to come down to Darlene and Ralph. I think it's going to go to a runoff.
Mm-hmm. I concur with you 100%. I mean, if you just look at Oconee, I think it's going to be almost what comes in the upstate the same way. If we look right now, if we switch over to Greenville,
give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and take it over to Greenville real quick.
Okay, you go ahead there.
All righty. We're going to pull up Greenville County real quickly here on the old reporting thing here. There's Greenville County here this evening. I love technology when technology works.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it when it doesn't work. All right, let's share this tab here. All right, now we are in Greenville County where surprisingly Ralph Norman is blowing it out of the water right now.
Absolutely.
2,628 votes, 40% of Greenville County. Darlene Graham right now, 1,453 votes with 22.34%. Russell Fry is, let me go ahead. Mark Sanford is in third right now with 14.59%, 949 votes. And Russell Fry is going to be the other leader at other bottom feeder here at 827, 12.71%, and the rest of them are all even Mark Lynch. Now, the Greenville native, 554 votes, 8% of the vote.
So I'm looking right now at our precincts reported in Oconee. I want to dial in on that for a second. If we were to look at Oconee right now, you have 3 precincts. You have South Union, Earls Grove and Takena Providence on the south side, and Shiloh and Ravenel have reported. Now, on the north side, Salem, Tomasi, Mountain Rest, Walhalla 1, Walhalla 2.
You got
Long
Holly.
Creek
You got
and
Holly Springs is in there. You got South Union, Earls Grove, Takena, Shiloh, and Ravenel. Those two right there are big precincts. Because you've got Bay Shore.
All of those,
yep, I'm listening. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, right now, I think the one that's got me is Stamp Creek's not reported in yet. So I think that that's going to play a big thing. But I also think that you have a lot of the Westminsters and a lot of the Ralph Normans in. So I think what you're going to see is, I think you may have a degradation in the Fry numbers, but I think you're going to have a strengthening in the Graham and the Norman.
Well, you have Seneca's one. You have Seneca 1, 2, 3, and 4 that has not, and those I can assure you are going to be Graham stronghold just because of the Seneca ties. I think they're going to vote for Darlene. I can see that. But again, that right there.
Creek, I think you'll see that was
Go ahead. Kiwi was interesting. Let me take a look here. Kiwi was very interesting here, because that does bring a portion of the lake vote as well, along with Stamp Creek, and then of course you got the whole line of Salem all the way up to the state line and all the way down. You have the cliffs in there too. That's on Lake Kiwi on the Salem side. So with all those reporting. And I think Ralph Norman's going to be a big stronghold in those particular areas. But Seneca, I think Seneca's going to go to Darlene. And I think she will. I think she's going to win Oconee. That's my opinion. But I'm seeing that other thing that you're referring to. I'm telling you, I think this is going to come down to Darlene. It's going to come down to Ralph. And if I had to be a judge and I was betting money in Las Vegas, for some reason I think Ralph's going to win. I don't know why. Why do I think that, Barry?
Are you thinking of the overall?
I'm thinking in the runoff. We're going to have a runoff. This is going to a runoff.
Oh yeah, we're going to have a
runoff. We're going to have a runoff.
Right now, there's 200 votes separating Fry and Norman. So if you were just looking like you said, based on this, you think, okay, it's going to be a long night. It's nip and tuck, they're going to change. The real thing is that once Greenville throws in, once Spartanburg comes in, once Union, and once York starts coming in, those numbers are going to go for Norman, like you said. So there is going to be a runoff, and it's most likely tonight it's going to be Norman and Graham. Then it becomes an issue, and that is this. This is going to be the $1 million question, and Jeff, it is going to be something that you're going to hear a lot of. Can the people, those 22% who are voting for Fry, are they going to shift gears, and are they going to vote for Graham? Are they going to sit home? Or are they going to vote for Norman?
I think they'll vote for Norman.
You think they will?
I do. I think they'll vote for Norman. Because I got to be honest, how many people really want to elect, given what's going on? And we were already, there's a good portion of us just didn't feel we wanted a change. And again, I didn't want the change that we got. I mean, I didn't ask for Mr. Graham to pass away. Nobody wanted that. But even before the primary, these are things in Oconee County that we've talked about for years, but everybody don't want to vote against the hometown boy. We talked about that. They want to send him back to Washington. I think you're right. But I think this is a different time. I think this is a completely, we're moving forward. Do we really want 6 more years of the same thing, or do we want somebody to go up there and absolutely represent us? That's the key.
So I think you've got an interesting perspective on something that's a very complex problem. And I think that it's going to come down to this. This is the, third, and that will be the 4th election of a runoff in basically 2 months. So if you started the cycle June 9th, June 22nd, then you had tonight, then you had, 2 weeks from tonight. People are going to get tired, and they are tired of it. They're tired dealing with it. They're tired. So they want, and there's the folks that are assuming, this is a big assumption, that people are going to go from Fry to Graham are basically saying these are both establishment people. we're going to put the machine together, we're going to do it. I don't know how that's going to work because this is the fourth time you went to that well saying, hey, get out there to vote, get everybody jazzed up and do this. Now, to your point, anger is a great motivation or disenfranchisement, frustration, whatever term you want to use, and anti-Graham sentiment is still there.
Yes.
It went from Lindsay, and now Darlene is the proxy, and she is saying that she is getting this mantle of no more Grahams, no more anointing, but also this. There is a thought component that says, look, we are tired of being told, McMaster anointed her. She was not supposed to run. Everybody says, hey, it's a great placeholder. It's a widow's appointment. Fantastic. Next thing you know, she's running. Okay. They're tired of that. Then there's the Trump endorsement. Now, if you weren't, under a rock yesterday, you probably got a call from, somebody on Trump's team saying, hey, there's a town hall rally going to be held for Darlene, get out to vote. I don't know how that's going to play again, meaning, like we said before with Oconee County, you can't put a gun to a South Carolinian's head and say, vote this way. They're gonna shoot back at you.
That's right.
And I think, Jeff,
mm-hmm.
that there is a little bit of anti-Trump because if you remember, he endorsed Evitt and then he co-endorsed Wilson
and Evitt,
and that flip-flop. What's that?
He tried to endorse both of them at one time.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm like, okay.
Let's see how this works out.
Right. So that's where I'm saying, okay. With that said, this is going to be an interesting, like you said, it's going to be an interesting call for politics because I think there's an anti-Graham sentiment that is going to drive people to the polls to vote for Norman.
Yep.
Now, we have two counties that have finished. We've had McCormick and we've had Barnwell. I don't think those are going to help nor hurt any of the candidates. I don't think that those two are enough to give us any indication one way or another. McCormick does have one interesting thing, and I don't know if you're if we can draw a corollary, a conclusion here, but it was 41% for Graham, 18% for Fry, 18% for Norman, and 13% for Stafford. So, but there was only 1,200 votes in McCormick. So I don't think there's enough there to really get a firm grasp on how tonight's going to play out. Barnwell, 47%, 15 and 15. Once again, 900 votes. I think you had people that just didn't show up. If you want to know my truth on these two counties, I think they had such low.
So I'm taking a look at Barnwell. I'm taking a look at Barnwell right now. 11,208 registered voters, and only 913 showed up. 8.15% of the vote of the registered voters.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's the most telling thing out of those two counties. Let's switch gears. Let me switch gears for a second and get you to something that's going to be very telling for you.
Let's hear it.
Switch over to Anderson. Let's go to Anderson County.
All righty. You talked me into it, and I didn't have to pay anything. So here we go. We are now officially in Anderson County.
Okay. I think this is going to be something that you're going to put into your radar screen because about 75% of Anderson County has come in. 11,000 votes. And if you notice here, about 32% for Norman, 30% for Graham, and Fry at 15%. I think this is what you're going to see in the upstate.
Let me update you here real quick. No, the 56 of 79, it's 31.54% for Ralph Norman at 3,672 votes, 30%. For Darlene Graham at 3,521. So right now with 56%, that may flip-flop a little bit, but that's dead even right there.
So I think that you're going to see this a lot in the upstate, which is Norman having a lead. Now this one I think is going to be one of the lower percentages for Norman, I think, as you get into Greenville and Spartanburg and Cherokee County and York and some of these where it's his threshold. That's where I think his number's going to be run up even more.
Well, I can assure you that our poor former governor, Mark Sanford, I think mathematically he's eliminated.
It's getting that time. He did do well. He did do well on the Georgia border. Give him credit for that. I mean, he did do very well on that. He did very well in Charleston. So give him credit there. But I do believe you're right. I do believe that this is going to be not a night that he will. I mean, he did well. And when was he in office before Haley? Like 2000?
Oh, good Lord. Right? 2005. Everybody will always associate Mark Sanford with the Appalachian Trail. We didn't know anything around here in South Carolina about the Appalachian Trail because we had the mountains until the governor went missing.
So I think it's been 20 years. I think you may want to give a 30-second kind of an elevator people that may have moved in from everywhere else to let them know.
I can tell everybody tonight here on the Podstirrer podcast is the governor disappeared. Nobody could find him. And then all of a sudden, he found his soulmate on the Appalachian Trail from Argentina. And then he took an airplane ride, if I'm correct on this. He flew down to Argentina. And the state of South Carolina was running on automatic pilot. Now, I think that's the story that we all know, correct?
That is basically, he found his soulmate. Next thing you know, he's taken off to Argentina.
Yep. 2013 to 2019, he was the 115th governor of South Carolina.
There you go.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. He was in the 1st Congressional District. From 2003 to 2011, he was the 115th governor. I looked at that number wrong. So, yeah, I said 2004 or 5. So, yeah, it was 2003 to 2011.
Switch over to Greenville County. You tell me if you still have 6,500 votes coming out of Greenville County.
All right, let's go back to Greenville County here this fine Tuesday evening. And by the way, it has been a disaster around for severe storms. There's power outages and damage all around Oconee. Greenville County is still holding with, these are early voting absentees, 151 of precincts reporting. We're still holding. Ralph Norman's leading at 40.40% with 2,628.
I think that's going to be when Greenville County comes in. I think that's going to flip the numbers. If you switch to Horry County real quick and you see that you have most of your circle is green, or basically 55% of your circle is green right now, that is Russell Fly's stronghold. It did not perform at 43, basically 43% right now. The Strand has still got to come in. North Myrtle Beach itself have still got to come in, but Conway's come in, and I just don't think that Fry has run up the numbers in Horry to combat the bucket of conservative, deep red upstate votes you're going to get, Jeff. So
they got 66 of 125 precinct reporting in Horry County. Right. And we're going to give Russell this. This isn't his own back door. I mean, I figured that he would poll hard in his own back door. And again, it's showing right here with 42% of the vote, 8,928. Again, Darlene Graham, I figured that as much. But again, our buddy Mark Lynch, mathematically, he's eliminated.
I would say that would be a good one. I mean, I don't know if it was the anti-Lynch campaign in the primary that did it.
I really do. I think I go back to, and we've had this conversation, Barry, the issue boils down to the video that was released where making the cocaine statements. I think that right there was what really done him completely in. When that video surfaced, I know that he made the statement that he thought it was forged, or AI or something, but it wasn't. I mean, it was actually his voice. And again, the background that he had, And this is where Team Graham did a wonderful job in their pack. They put that information out there in front. I mean, seriously. It just updated 74 of 125 in Horry County, and Russell Fry is cruising right now, 42%.
I can tell you a little bit of what's going on. So if you look at the precinct report and you actually look at the map of the Horry County there, and if you look at Colston, you go through the Strand,
Cherry Grove, Ocean Drive.
Yep. Yeah.
I see all of them.
All those just turned green.
Yep.
They just turned green. So those are the highest population areas, and he's still at 42%.
Yep.
Which tells us that okay. And Norma did not really campaign in Horry County. So I think we're seeing something here, which is he's just not pulling above that 43%. He really needed this one to be in the 50s or 60s to do anything of significance there. But
let's take a trip real quick to Pickens County. 46 of 61 precincts have reported, and Ralph Norman is leading the way at 32%, 3,044 votes. Darlene Graham, 27.77%, 2,615, and Russell Fry with 14.85% at 1,398.
Okay, that's a very interesting number, sir. Okay, let's have to dial in. Okay, so you still have Pendleton to come in. That's
well, Pendleton is in Pendleton is in Anderson County.
Well, they've got part of it. The Pendleton.
Yeah, that's the Clemson. That's that Clemson tip that's in Pickens County. There's a tip of Pendleton that's in Pickens County. I gotta find
that
it.
area still needs to come in. That 6 Mile area still needs to come in.
We still have 6 Mile, and Clemson, the university hasn't come in. Old Stone Church is Old Stone Church is in, and that's huge. That's a big voting precinct. The Old Stone Church, that's that part of that we were talking about, the part of that Pendleton area right there, because that goes back into Anderson County and it crosses the lake down at Twin Lakes. Clemson has not reported yet.
That's very telling.
Central, North Central, South Central. You've got the Pike community, Lawrence Chapel, which is out 133. You have 6 Mile that is partially reported, but Mountain View and Holly Springs, which is your lake communities, and Mountain View is your lake communities, they have completely reported. And that's Pickens County.
Okay. So right now, we know that 74 of 125 have already come in. They're done. That was Fry's stronghold at 42%, but yet Greenville, which is much bigger than Horry County, none of their precincts are closed out, and we still have buckets of. I mean, this is almost like Pennsylvania, on election night for the president. Man, I'm telling you, you've got. There's still some. What's that?
You and I are getting good at this. We need to go into the business as political pot stirrers.
Oh, no. No, we don't, because we already get in enough trouble as it is.
Oh, me.
Let's see. Let's use. There is. I'm going to pull up Richland for a second here, because Richland is close to Lexington. Lexington is a grand stronghold. I wanted to see how she's doing. Sanford did well in Richland, which is Columbia. That's shocking, but I Columbia's still got a ways to go.
So we've got 22 in Richland County right now, 22 of 149 precincts reporting. Darlene's leading the way in that one, 37.32%, 1,583 votes. Ralph Norman. Well, now I'm going to back up here. Mark Sanford polling a little bit higher in Richland
that's
County.
what I saw too, yeah.
At 20.56%, 872. And Ralph Norman, Russell Fry at 19% with 809 votes, and Ralph Norman at 17.9. I still believe this is going to be a little bit longer, but I still think mathematically, just going with what I know in the years, I still think that Ralph and Darlene is going to be in the runoff. I just, for what I'm seeing right now, unless something major changes, I think that's where we're heading.
I don't have any evidence right now to dispute what you said.
No.
If I could make an argument right now, Jeff, to stir the pot, shall we say?
Yep.
I would. There's nothing data significant that says you're wrong from what you see now. There's one data point I think is very telling, not for tonight, but for 2 weeks.
Yep.
So what I want you to do is I want you to pull up Lexington County.
All right, stand by. We'll go to Lexington County right now, and it is up on the screen.
All right. Now, we've been talking about Fry and Horry County being at 43%. This is Darlene's stronghold.
38.14% with 4,071 votes. Right now, you've got Ralph and Mark Sanford almost tied. 1951 for Mark, 1953 in votes for Ralph Norman, 18.30%, 18.28 for Mark Sanford. And then you've got Russell hanging in there at 18.45 with 1,969 votes.
So I'm going to add to your argument. You said that you think that Ralph may take it. Let me tell you why. What I'm seeing, which is, if I'm in Richland, it was at 37% for Darlene. If I go to some of these other counties, it's always at 37, 38%. Jeff, I think you hit it point on the head, but your data is proving it to some degree, or pointing in that direction. I don't think you've heard it just yet. I think Darlene has a cap. I think about 40% is her cap right now. And I think it's that anti-Graham sentiment, which is 2/3 of people, or 3/5 of people do not want her to win because the Graham name or the anointing, or maybe because.
Let's take this out of the equation for just a second, and let me throw this in here. If you reduce the amount of candidates that ran in this primary, and you just had 3 candidates, you know that Ralph Norman's going to pick up a whole bunch more. Again, I think Russell Fry, his candidacy, if he does lose, which it looks like that's what's going to happen, I really believe that a lot of those people are going to throw their support to Ralph Norman, and then I really think we've got a battle brewing.
I do too. I want you to look at Kershaw for a second. This is closed out. This is what I'm pointing to.
And we are on
Kershaw County
now.
Okay. Darlene Graham, what percentage did she win?
Let's see, 32 of 32, 38.22%, 1,622 votes. And you have Ralph Norman, 24.76%, 1,051. You have Russell Fry at 17.11, 726 votes, and Mark Sanford at 13.52% of the vote, 574.
This county is basically equidistant between Ralph Norman and Darlene.
Yep.
And she hit that. She hit that basically that plateau. And I think this is what I'm seeing is at 38%. But let's be fair. Let's look at York. Since we looked at the others, let's look at York.
All right.
That's Ralph Norman's background, right?
That's correct. So we're going to go over to York County right now, and we are in officially York County.
Okay.
Yep, 51
Big difference here.
Oh, yeah, huge. 51.4% of the vote at 5,115. Darlene Graham, 26.29, 2,616. And there's nobody else that came. Russell Fry had 8% of the vote. I mean, poor Mark only had 6 point something percent. Now that's 44 of 100 precincts reporting in York County. That's a runaway right there.
I think you're going to be seeing a lot of this in the future, which is exactly what you're seeing here, which is, can Darlene get above the 38%? And I don't know. And I mean,
Well, in York County,
we still have precincts in Oconee that have not reported yet.
I'm going through Oconee or from York County right now, and I'm very familiar. You have state line. You've got Fort Mill, which is a huge Fort Mill 1 and 2, 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge precinct there. Going on down, you've got Hopewell and Friendship and all those. Now, Catawba, lower part of York County, huge. Mount Holly, huge. You've got what I consider the Charlotte dwellers that live over across the state line, from Matthews and Indian Trail and Indian Land, all of those areas. You've got those in York County. So you've got a huge population just on that east side of York County. But again,
all right,
now, it doesn't change my mind. I still believe that Ralph Norman wins York County.
Oh, he's gonna blow away. Let's look at Lancaster. Let's look at one right next to it.
All right, we're going to Lancaster. That was home of a legendary AM radio station at one time, WAGL. Waggle.
Okay.
All right, it's up, and we've got Darlene, 37.13%, 2,595% of the vote, 33.2% for Ralph Norman, 2,370. And Russell Fry, 15% even with the percentage at 1,048. And that is 30 of 30. That is 30 of 31 precincts reporting. And you've got River Road, a very, very small precinct that has not reported.
So if we use Lancaster, we say Darlene hit her cap at 38%. Ralph Norman pulled well at 33%. Russell Fry, and by the way, this is getting closer and closer to Ward County where he is known. So I think this county here is going to be indicative of tonight. Now, this doesn't mean this is going to be indicative of the results in 2 weeks. What I'm saying is, you look at the counties that Darlene win, and you're getting to that 37-38%. Tell me a county where she broke that barrier. You can't.
You can't. It doesn't exist.
So therefore, I think you're spot on to say something that says, look, the question is, can the Graham campaign in 2 weeks break through that 38%? I don't think they can. Well, not that I've seen any evidence so far telling me that they're going to break that 38%. They cannot break through 40.
I am getting a report.
Brother, I think you're spot on.
Oh, I do. I'm getting a report that potentially some of the reason that we've not got some of the other votes in was due to the weather that has moved through earlier today. It was a mess. Because I've just looked over here at 846, and given what I know about Oconee elections, this is very unusual for Seneca's 1 through 4 not to have already been processed at the county. Normally, Seneca is already en route by 7:15, 7:30, time they get them to the county office up at Pine Street. Normally, we already are aware of Seneca, and I'm just kind of wondering, because in the areas that I'm seeing that there's partial reports was where we had some severe weather today. I know that South Cove County Park was closed this evening because they've got massive trees down everywhere, and it was a mess. I don't know about where you're at, Barry. I don't know how the weather was there, but we were in the middle of the city council meeting, and the bottom fell out. I mean, it was wind and rain and everything.
We were on the way through Townville on the way back to Oconee, and there were massive trees starting to fall through, and these are not small trees. They were blocking 24 or something. So it was.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. We're inching towards the top of the hour of 9 o'clock here. And it's been a long day for me. I think we've got enough of information and past everything. Barry, if you would, I'll be next in 2 weeks. I'd love to have you back on again. We could do this once again. I enjoy working with you and talking about these things, and it's an education thing for getting folks more involved. And again, for the Oconee Republican Party, I want to see us be more involved. I want more people to be involved, and I think everything is going great. I appreciate all that you do for the Oconee Republican Party. You've got my support. I've told you that. And again, October the 15th is a very big moment within the Oconee Republican Party and the county council. We're going to have a town hall meeting And there'll be more information about that that's going to be coming out here in the next a couple of weeks as we get into September and October. Again, I believe that's going to be a big meeting. We're going to find out more about the forensic audit, and I think there's going to be some questions that are finally going to be answered. And again, your leadership and everybody's leadership within the Republican Party, I think we're in good hands.
Thank you, my brother, and we look forward to it. And everyone have a great evening, and God bless South Carolina.
Amen, brother. And I'll be talking to you here next week before we get things set up. I appreciate it, Barry.
All right, talk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Barry Sanders joining us here on the Pot Stirrer podcast. Again, it has been a long evening, and again, I appreciate everybody that's joined us. We started at 6 o'clock coverage of downtown Seneca City Hall tonight. And again, you know as much as I do, the vote passed tonight for Seneca Light and Water. But again, Lakeisha, Dana Moore, Joel Ward, Denise, W.C. Honeycutt, we're going to do the right things that they said. And again, we're going to take a look at the budget. Again, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But there was a lot of things that came out of this meeting tonight. This show is available if you want to go back and watch it. Immediately once we stop, it's on the YouTube. It'll be on my personal Facebook page. But again, I appreciate everybody joining us here tonight, and thank you for your support and coverage of tonight's Seneca City Council meeting. And also Barry Sanders joined us for a little state politic talk tonight here on the show. Hope everybody has a great evening. Our next show will be Monday night. I've got a show Monday night. We will probably have county council on Tuesday night. Coming up on Monday, we have County Council Representative or candidate for District 1, William Bull, is going to join us. And we're going to have a conversation with him coming up Monday night at 7 o'clock here on the Pot Stirrer podcast. Until then, stay up to date, stay informed, and we will see you soon here on the Pot Stirrer podcast with Jazzy Jeff here on this kind of wet evening here in the Golden Corner.
From the back roads and courthouse steps of small-town South Carolina to the late-night studio where the mics never sleep, this is where decisions, rumors, and real stories collide. You're tuned in to the Pot Stirrer Podcast with Jazzy Jeff. Real talk, local issues, no fluff.